actually turn off the chat just for a moment, and then we'll bring you back in to answer your questions here at the end.
Yeah, so here I am. Back in high school, we did a kind of a joke. Bunch of my photography buddies, we put every camera I could find and put it around my neck and took this picture. So I was about 17 years old. I actually had hair, Michael. I don't know if you had hair too back in those days.
I did at one point in time, yes.
Well, I feel jealous when I see someone with lots of hair. But anyways, you get what you get in life. But anyways, I eventually went on and got a degree from the University of Arizona, and I was barely a C student. And so, wasn't the brightest guy on the planet. At least it went academically. I always felt like I was barely, struggling in the classroom. But I went on and have had 35 years of being a commercial advertising photographer, and I discovered some incredible things along the way. I also, in 1990, I did a coffee table book on the Navajo. It was a Navajo Portrait of the Nation, and that ended up to be not only a coffee table national interest book. I had a 18-month solo exhibit at the American History Museum in the Smithsonian. So some good things came out of that. That was a hard project to do. I was young. I had dreams. And I wanted to do a coffee table book, and I was able to do that. It was a really difficult project. But I also, in 2014, I became a Canon Explorer of Light, which is a big deal, and I feel very blessed to be a part of what Canon is doing. I go on behalf of Canon speaking all over to photographers, and it's a really good gig. So, and my photographic assignments have taken me to over 50 countries, some of them 30 times, done all sorts of national ad campaigns, and I have a whole list: AT&T, Comcast, Fiat, Chrysler Automotive, Fiji Water, Hewlett-Packard, Hyatt, Pfizer, Red Bull, Sony, Visa, and Volvo, to name a few. So I've had an incredible, and I'm still shooting. I got a big project coming up, 10 days of shooting for a client in California, which will be really fun here in the next 2 weeks. So, anyways, that's a little bit of my history there, and I've got more I could tell you about that, but at any rate, so when I graduated, I was, of course, I didn't have any money, I didn't have any backing. Maybe you feel like that too. I was really, in the beginning, struggling to find work. I was so shy that when it came time to exert myself in the marketplace, I couldn't do it. I was very fortunate in that I had a studio mate when I went to Denver, started a studio down there with his help. And I had to discover the power of 8. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So remember, the power of 8 is going to be a really big sort of secret into how I sort of overcame the marketplace. And I had to learn to face my fear. So I learned something very interesting, that I was very shy. I had to learn to overcome that. As that I got better at that, my skill set, with the strengths that I had, got better. So I always say, work on your weaknesses and your strengths will always get better. And so I had to overcome a lot of things. We'll talk some about that. I had to learn to create my own style. This was difficult too, because I wanted to make a living. So what I thought was that if I just took pictures that I hoped my clients might like, then I would get a lot of work, which you can't get work like that. But at some point, I had to go out and learn my own style, put my own stamp in the ground, and say, this is who I am. And as a result of that, I started getting more work, started working more on the national level, and some great things happened. So we're going to talk a little about your own style here in a minute. So again, you may be one of those students that didn't make it, or you feel like you've been beat down to the point where you quit. And in fact, I talk a lot about how it's even my own kids, I watch them getting beat down. It's torture for a parent to watch your kids get beat down and have disappointments and be brought to tears. But that's part of the process of being out in the real world. And I always say there's nothing wrong with a good beat down to where it brings you to tears, because if you pick yourself off the ground and move forward, you leave 95% of all other people trying to reach the same goal you are, you leave them behind. Because the odds are that people will quit. And that's what happens. So you may spend a lot of money on your degree in photography, and I talk to a lot of people. In fact, one of the things that I find very interesting is I get a lot of people coming to my workshops that studied photography, ended up not making a living at it, went on, got another occupation, spent 20 years plus, and then now have come back and said, look, I should not have quit. I want to go back and revisit my dream of being a photographer. And so, and that's a lot of this because you have built inside of you a passion to create. And I think that's built into our DNA. We all, as human beings, have some degree of desire to create. Some of us more than others. And a camera and the tools we have, Photoshop, whatever, give us the ability to have this incredible, creative process that we can go out and fulfill. So.
And I just wanted to piggyback on there real quick, because one of the things that you say often is that the majority of people, once they hit that stumbling block, they quit. And then they come back years later, or they just feel like they missed that opportunity to fulfill their passion. And the key is consistency, coming back over and over and over again, even when you hit those roadblocks. I just think that's such a powerful message. And if people could really internalize that, that's going to make a huge difference in both your art and your life.
Yeah, because you're going to get beat down. That's the real world. You're going to have people that say you suck, and you're going to get rejected. That's the real world. But you have to learn to overcome that. And I remember, and I had to always tell the story about my first portfolio showing, which I actually was brought to tears. I wanted to quit, and I had a roommate or studio mate that came along and said, don't let one person steal your dream. And I'm so thankful for that, because I was ready to throw it all in. After one portfolio showing that I got a failure.
Right. And people can't believe that, people like you, Joel, who've accomplished all this. I mean, look at your beautiful artwork right here on the screen. You would never have gotten to that point had you quit. And so a lot of people don't realize that it's just a matter of sticking to it.
Yeah. So I always say, find something you love more than anything on the planet, and then say, okay, I want that, and it's possible for you to achieve it. That's my message to you guys, is that if you want to work for National Geographic and be a photographer that travels the world, it's possible for you to get there. And so I was a small kid, or a kid from a small town. I was colorblind, which, by the way, people always say, how is it possible to be a photographer and be colorblind? Actually, it's to my benefit. And maybe I'll touch on that a little bit when we talk about our own personal style. But I wasn't a very good student. I again, fell in love with something. And I said, I'm willing, after I've had that first rejection, I got picked up off the floor. I said, I'm willing to move forward and accept the beat downs to achieve my end result. So I talk about, there's a couple of photographers that we kind of profile. One is Cliff Linderman, and we're not going to show the video right now, but Cliff came to my workshop. He had barely, I think he had maybe a point and shoot, or had just bought his first single lens reflex camera. He came to my workshop, didn't even know really f-stops and shutter speeds. And that was a few years ago. And Cliff, go to clifflinderman.com. He is rocking it today, and he's living his dream. He's working for clients. He's getting some really good client work. And so in a very short time, and he has followed me and has really taken my advice. He became a part of that 50 self-assignment club thing that I do, which means that you get out every week and create a test assignment or whatever photo shoot that gets you and to the next level by growing and practicing, whatever. Talking about that practicing, 50 self-assignments a year. Even now, as I teach and I do commercial work, I do 50 self-assignments every year. And that's part of my success, is always going out and practicing. So we're going to cover a couple things. Secret number one is how to create a body of work in a series. You hear me pounding that drum a lot. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the trends, how to get noticed, and how to make a living or get gigs. So let's talk about those basic things. You may say, I think I'm kind of ADD, Michael. I don't know if you can catch that. But I also sometimes have a hard time knowing how to focus on one thing. But what I've learned a few tricks. And one is I set a goal And I make sure that goal is beyond something I think is possible, but yet realistic. And then I say, what are my steps to get there? That's how I kind of set myself up. But it is, as photographers, they jump around too much. They don't focus. They'll try one trend or one technique here, and they don't stick with something long enough. And so that's one of the things that I talk about is picking something and then going with it. Now, so some of you may know my 3-edge lighting. I say 2-edge, but a 3-light approach, 1 overhead, 2-edge lights. I started doing sports figures. And I always say that I didn't start out with shooting $100 million athletes right off the bat. Even though I was a commercial advertising photographer and working on a national level, I had to build that body of work. So I grabbed the kid next door, the high school football player. I grabbed anyone I could. The first year, I just practiced and really didn't have any name athletes. Within a year, I finally went to the University of Arizona. I was down in Tucson at the time. I went to their sports media department and said, hey, I'm a photographer. I'm local. I would love to practice with some of your students, your athletes. And I got in the door, and then I started shooting for their posters and their ad stuff for the school. And I got some really good athletes. And then that opened the door to the pro athletes. Next thing I know, I was shooting these big-time athletes. And it took about maybe 2.5 year, sort of run before I got to where I was really making a good living with shooting athletes. So that's what I talk about, is being able to go and find something you love. And the technique that I was doing was kind of unique at the time, but it wasn't like it was the most incredible thing on the planet. It was just that I repeated it over and over again, and then I built a body of work. So that's the key. So if you go to a gallery and you say, hey, I want to have a gallery showing, the first thing that gallery curator will ask you is, what series are you working on? It's got to be a series, because one strong photograph is not enough. You have to have a body of work that fits together, that paints a picture of who you are, so that you brand yourself in the marketplace. And like I said, it's not easy to do that. So let's look at like Ansel Adams, Irving Penn, Edward Weston. We can say Annie Leibovitz. Big time masters of photography. They all branded themselves. They all spent a lifetime doing one thing and doing it better than anyone else on the planet. It's the repeating and beating it. I always say you beat the same drum over and over and over again, and finally you get noticed. So look at the masters. Look at someone that's on stage. You go to a big conference, photography conference. Who's on stage? Someone that's built a brand that's recognizable to their name. It connects to who they are. And so, again, I can't emphasize.
And I think something to add to that is that a lot of photographers will see those big names, and instead of focusing on something they're passionate about, they try to emulate those photographers and copy what they're doing versus using the principle of what they're doing, which is creating work in a series that they're passionate about over and over again.
Yeah, I think we all start out a little bit copying. Like we say, oh, I like that photographer. I wanted to be Ansel Adams when I was doing landscape photography. And then, of course, I stumbled across Irving Penn, and I wanted to be like Irving. You know what I'm saying? We all gravitate to a certain photographer that we love. But it's when you start repeating the process, getting the subject in front of you every week, and taking and trying some new technique, or stumbling across something. What would happen if I did this? And all of a sudden, you develop your own style. Eventually, you will. So you may be a little nervous about saying, I can't. There's no way I can develop my own style. Yes, you can. Or what if I always say, is it possible for you to be a creative force in the industry and set a trend? It's possible. Because you know what? If you do something long enough and you do it well, people will take notice and like it.
Right.
And then they'll follow what you do.
Right. And that speaks to your previous point about most people quit. So by not quitting, you're putting yourself out there with that consistency over time and developing that series and style.
All right, so I was on YouTube and I watched Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, here's the keys to success. Denzel Washington, here's the keys to success. I went through a bunch of, you know what they said? Number one thing.
What?
Don't quit.
Don't quit.
Don't quit. Okay, 95% of all people that you're competing against in the field of whatever you do will quit. 95, or say 90, but really, even among the 10% that make it, they're still usually not that successful. So I always say there's a handful of people that are at the top of every field. If you're in LA and you're a car shooter, there's 5 photographers in LA with 13 million people, whatever is in the LA basin. 5 people are doing most of all car shoots, or fashion work, or weddings in your town, or whatever. There's a small percentage that always reaches the top, and they're the ones that don't quit. There's the ones that stop whining, because you can always sit around and whine and complain about everything. They go out and just work, and repeat, and they build a body of work that represents what they love, and they get it in front of people. And so we're going to talk about the power of 8 in a minute. So you've got to not follow trends, because if you do, you'll always be at the back of the pack. You always have to go out and forge your own way and build your own body of work, and you will get noticed. It's a guarantee you will get noticed, because look at how many, my father-in-law, who just passed away a year ago, but he used to say, go to the grocery store and how many different kinds of pickles are on the shelf? Lots. Why? Because a lot of people have different kinds of taste, right? Same with music. So you go and create a body of work, and it doesn't have to be everyone's not going to love what you do, right? You just need a certain segment. You only need, I always say you only need 10 clients, really. You don't need 100 clients. 10 clients will keep you busy. 10 clients you can make a living. 10 clients you can go and pay your mortgage and pay your kids' tuition to college, or whatever it is that you need to do, buy a new car. You don't need that many clients. You need just to make sure that you do what you love, build a really good body of work, and people will come along and they'll take notice. I got a phone call. So I built my Joel Grimes edgy, kind of sports look. And I got this phone call from a creative director. And she said, is this Joel Grimes? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, I'm in this meeting. I just got this meeting, and the photographer we use a lot, that we feel very comfortable with, he brought in a bunch of samples in, and we're doing this sports campaign. And he kept saying, well, here's the the Joel Grimes 3-light edgy look, and this is what I want to do. And he kept referring to my name, Joel Grimes. And so what she did was, when she got out of the meeting, she called me up and said, I want to talk to the original Joel Grimes, not a copy. Are you available to do this campaign? We love your work. So I ended up shooting the campaign based on, I feel bad for the photographer, but he made a huge mistake. And that is, he tried to run on someone else's coattail and did not forge his own look, brand, whatever, and ended up losing that. I got the benefit of it because I had sort of done my due diligence and worked a certain look up. So that's what I'm saying. People want the original, not the copy. Does that make sense? And unfortunately, we have a lot of people copying and not going out and forging their own way. So I always say that the whole thing is that no artist is loved by everyone, right? So if I took your iPhone and went to your playlist, and on your music playlist, and it would be completely different than mine, and especially Michael's. I mean, that guy's, I don't know what you listen to, Michael. But, my wife and I, we have different playlists. We'll have to kind of, I'll listen to your stuff for a while, and she listens to my stuff. But I like Neil Young, Bob Dylan, some of the old nasally, she's like, oh, I can't stand that. And I
Same with me and my wife too. I'm a huge Bob Dylan fanatic. She's like, it's voice, man.
So that's the beauty of being human, is that we all have something different that we like. And that's the way the real market works. And so you go, and like I said, build your body of work, someone will fall in love with it. So I'm going to say something here. And when I start out my marketing presentation in front of a group of people, I always say that, without exception, every human being on this planet suffers from some degree of being weak, fragile, and insecure. Unfortunately, that's my humanity. I'm weak, fragile, and insecure. Now, I want to be tough. I put on a tough facade, and I always tell people, I can guarantee you you're weak, fragile, and insecure. I'll prove it to you. Is that when you put something on social media and you get all these praises, and someone says you're a rock, you're the most amazing photographer on the planet, and then someone comes along and says you suck, you're terrible. That's whatever. When you go to bed at night, which do you remember? The 99 praises or the one critique or the one brutal critique? And if you're like me, what I do is I never look at someone's profile or whatever. If they say I'm incredible, if they say I suck, then I go look them up, right? And see how bad they suck, just because that's my humanity, right? But I'm a human just like you. I'm no different. I had to learn to be able to overcome the onslaught of criticism in the marketplace. I had to learn that. It did not come easy at first, but I realized at some point that I had to move forward and be criticized, move forward and get beat down, move forward, be rejection, move forward. I always have to move forward and not give in to other people's, I guess you would say, opinion, because everyone's got an opinion, and at some point that opinion is going to crush you. And so, anyway, so let's keep going here. This is all fun. I love talking about this. So you say, well, I'm still, I don't know, Joel. I'm not won over yet. I'm not sure I could be a creative force in the marketplace. I can guarantee you can. In fact, I've seen people that were so nervous about putting their stake in the ground, and then now I look back and they're rocking it, and it's because they had to overcome that I call it like a big brick wall that's 8 feet thick and 30 feet high. You got to knock it down and say, is it possible that I can move forward and be in this industry and make a dent in it and make a living with my camera. So I noticed that even in my own life, I kind of wasted time. I would watch, things on TV, or maybe Sunday when football season, I spent a lot of time watching football. Well, 10 years ago, I gave up football, watching football on TV. I watched the Super Bowl every year, and that's it. And I love watching football. But you know what I did on Sundays? I went out and created images, set up photo shoots. And I had to give up something. And so I know you, just like me, you have stuff that you do that you probably sit back and do nothing and just kind of veg in front of the TV or whatever. You can take that time and go out and put it and apply it to your dream. So we all have time we waste. You can take a little bit of time each day and grow and get closer to your goal. So let's talk about how to make a little bit of how to move forward to making a money with your craft. All right, it's a big nut. If you want to be an advertising photographer like I was, you go, how in the world do I go and get into an ad agency? Or you say, I love editorial. I want to work for Geographic, or I want to work for Vogue magazine, or whatever it is. Let's say you love, I shot motorcycles and motorcycle riders for 100 days 3 years ago. I love motorcycles. So you say, I love motorcycles, I love surfing, I love whatever it is. You say, how is it that I get past where I'm at right now and into magazines or into shooting ad campaigns or whatever it is? It seems like a big nut. It's not as big as you think. So when you stand at the Grand Canyon, you go, hey, that's a long ways across the Grand Canyon. There's no way I can jump that. Well, it's true, physically I can't. But most of the fears you have are unfounded, meaning that you were told you can't do it. You look and you get psyched out. And so it is possible that you can go and overcome the big nut, so to speak. So here's what I always say. The best photographers generally don't end up making the most money. I wish it was the case. I wish you were so good at photography and then all the work came and followed, you became a rock star. That's not the way it works. In fact, I know some incredible, and I've been doing this for about 40 years plus. I know some incredible photographers that can't pay their mortgage. They've gone bankrupt. They've done all they've got. They barely hang on. Some of them had to quit and sell life insurance. Not that that's a bad thing to do. I'm just saying they couldn't make it because they didn't understand some basic marketing principles. And so, like I said, you may be one of those people. And it's not too late. So I had people come to I reinvented myself at 50, Michael. I don't know if you know that, but I'm 61 now. So about 11 years ago, I ended up starting over, building that 3 edgy light approach with athletes, and that kicked me onto a whole nother level nationally and opened the doors for me to start teaching and be an educator in this industry. I didn't plan on being a teacher and educator. I was always sharing my techniques. I never had a secret I held to myself. But the point is at 50, I went and started over, and then here I am at 61. And guess what? I'm starting over again. I love reinventing myself. I got some new ideas. I've been practicing some new things. And I just did a big talk at Photoshop World on the future of where photography is going. I cover Playtography in the Joel Grimes masterclass that I have. I cover that concept of Playtography. If you may not have never heard that term, well, I made it up. It may not stick, but it's this new future of where photography is going. And I look at that. I go, I can't wait to go out and play and practice this new technique that I'm doing. I just used it on this campaign for Fiat Chrysler Automotive, shot 6 days. We did a bunch of ad campaign stuff. And so I'm applying these new techniques with some things that are current and where the future is going. So I love this whole reinventing, or never say it's too late, because it's never too late to start over. So let's talk about this whole concept of getting my foot in the door. I was extremely shy. You hear me talking now. You say, oh, Joe, you don't seem shy. I go in front of people and I talk in front of 1,000 people, and I just get up and talk. Well, that's because I've been doing it now for 10 years. But I started out so shy. I remember, Michael, you maybe never had this problem, but I remember trying to ask a girl out, and I was fumbling so much that when she finally said, are you trying to ask me out? And I said, well, if you say yes, yes, I'm asking you out. But I was so nervous. And of course, when I made cold calls, I was so bad that when I'd pick up the phone, I'd literally be shaking and my tongue felt like 50 pounds. I'm sure I'm the only one on the planet that feels like that when they start out making cold calls. But no, actually we all do. It's not easy to make calls. My first year in business, I logged in over 3,000 cold calls, and I had my studio mate standing over me at the beginning, coaching me, which has made it even harder because I'm nervous enough, but then when someone stands over you, it's even harder. But I had to learn to overcome the fear of making a cold call. That's step number one. If you go to and you put $200,000 into a college to get your degree in photography, they should have a class that is cold calling 101. They don't have it. They should, because if you have, again, you're the best photographer on the planet, you got straight A's, and you are the rock star coming out of college. If you don't learn to make a cold call, you will never, ever succeed in photography. I'm telling you, it's so important to be able to go and exert yourself in the marketplace. Yes, we have emails, we have social media and stuff. It's possible to use a little bit of that, but at some point you got to make a cold call, and you got to call someone and say, hi, and exert yourself. And it is nerve-wracking. It is torture. I had to learn to overcome that. And I actually made it a game. And I don't know, Michael, if you ever fish, but when you go and fish, your first cast doesn't normally catch a fish. You got to get out there. And sometimes you spend 3 hours, 4 hours before you get even a bite. And that's the way fishing is. And that's part of the joy of fishing. If you just caught a fish every time you cast it, probably, you'd give up. You'd be like, it's boring.
That's why they call it fishing, not catching, right?
That's a good one. It's true. So when I go and exert myself in the marketplace, I'm throwing out opportunities. I'm trying to make opportunities, and not everyone comes around. And in fact, about every one, maybe at best one in every 50, times I go out there that I get a nibble, right? So, but it's a numbers game. I've learned that, but the beauty is I've made a living with photography for almost 40 years.
And that was before you reinvented yourself. That
is true. And so I'm always been in a hustle. I had to learn how to hustle. But the fact is there's all sorts of things now. We have social media, and there's a lot of technical things we have to get over, right? Not just photography, but if you gotta have a website. Well, now we have drag and drop websites. It's pretty easy. But at one point, I used to build my own websites. So there's a lot of things I had to learn, a lot of hats to put on to be a photographer. But the fact is I learned it. and I had a dream. And I said, I'm not going to give up on my dream. And so you may feel the same way. You may say, hey, I have a dream too, and I've been beat down. Or maybe, like you said, I don't have a formal education. That's okay. In fact, as I put together all my education stuff, one of the things I do is I feel like I try to break something down so simple that anybody can learn it. And so I do a lot on lighting that way, and even my photoshopping. I try to break down the Photoshop. Here's we got 16-bit, we got all these 8-bit bit depth and HDR and all these things where we're learning smart objects and stuff. I try to break it down really simple. So let's get to Michael. This is one of my real joys is to share the power of 8. And the power of 8 is a term I kind of came up with, but actually in years past, real estate people used it. I think that back then it was like they called it six. You had to make 6 contacts with the subject before they remembered who you are. Well, for years have been called the power of 8. It might be the power of 10 now or power of 20 because our ability to remember is getting harder and harder because we got so much clutter in our brains. But here's the concept of the power of 8. If you take the average person that goes and exerts themselves in the marketplace, they'll not do more than 2 attempts of winning someone over, or 2 rejections. So if you say you get a name of an art director, you call them up, and they go, oh, I'm really busy right now, but can you call me in 2 weeks? So you put notes down, you call them back. They go, I'm really busy right now, you can call me in 2 weeks. What they're doing is they're putting you off, right? Maybe they're being somewhat polite about it, and sometimes they're not very polite at all, but they put you off. So 95% of people will stop. If they even do 2 attempts, they will never go on to the 3rd attempt. This has been proven. They've documented this. I've proven this in my own life. And so the odds of you securing a sale after 2 attempts is less than 10%. So it's really very small. But if you go and stick with someone and keep pounding them, and I call it the power of 8, you get at least 8 times where you've put your name in their brain, the odds go up to 80% you'll return on your investment. This is incredible. Do you realize that if you can stick with a potential client, at least 8 times, you've now just overcome 95% of your competition in the marketplace? And I have proven this over and over. I built my whole career on this. And I go in complete in depth on how to do this, how to get your foot in the door and all this stuff, how to actually go and do those 8 contacts. And so it is so much fun to see the success of this. And I get excited sharing this with people because I had more people come to me and go, you know what? I was dead in the water until I learned the power of 8. Now I'm rocking it. So everybody doing okay so far?
All right. If you're enjoying the masterclass so far, let us know. I just turned the chat back on. So if you have, if you're excited and want us to keep going, just say yes or heck yes or whatever you like.
No.
Steven says this is fantastic. Matt, yes. Diane, yes. Frank, yes. Yes, I am. Loving it. Yes. Okay, so I think I think folks are getting the tidbits they need. And remember, guys, make sure you're writing this stuff down because we forget as human beings. We hear this great stuff about following your passion, following your vision, following your dream. But if you don't come back to this mentally on a daily basis, you're not going to create the momentum and the consistency you need. A lot of people loving this. Yippee, let's keep rocking it.
Yeah, I was just at Photoshop World and I did this whole talk or this, on marketing, whatever. And there were some people that had come to me and watched this thing like 6 or 7 times. And they say, I go, you've been here before. They go, yeah, we just can't get enough. We need to be reminded over and over again. And I always interject some new things every once in a while. And so people kind of go, okay. And I didn't hear that story before. So, all right, we talked about building a body of work. We talked about trends, putting your stake in the ground. And we've talked a little bit about the power of 8 and making a living with your camera, the power of 8, all that stuff. So we all take it to the next level. We're going to keep going here. All right. So I spent last year, Michael, I think it was about 10 months straight. And I already had been working on teaching and refining all my stuff. But last year I sat down and for 10 months, I filmed 40 hours of training from all the way through from what I call being an artist, like the artist. I have a thing called the craft, and that's how to take pictures all on lenses and, you know, the platography thing, or platography, I mean. All my techniques on the camera side of things, HDR, 32-bit processing, all that. Then I have one called the retouch, and that's all my Photoshop. So I go through in depth on the retouching or the finishing side of my, from composites to whatever. And then I have a whole class on business. Now, if you came to me and said, Joel, I just flew into Phoenix. I want to buy an hour of your time. Let's just say I put a price tag on it of $10,000. Well, that'd be nice. But let's just say it was expensive. And I was to give you all the secrets to what I do. The one thing I would not leave out is the artist and the business. Because when you go, and I go typically to most of these conventions and stuff, almost everyone is talking about techniques. And I love techniques. I cover a lot of techniques. But the artist side of things, of how to overcome rejection and being an artist and all that, being critiqued and crying when someone tells you suck, to the business side of things of chasing your dream and making a living, from the copyrights, putting bids, all that stuff. That's what I'd be talking to you about. And so I have compiled this whole thing, and we call it the complete pack, the Joel Grimes Complete Pack Masterclass. So we have that, and I am so proud of this body of tutorials, and that's why I've been out here now pounding the doors and making it available to people. And this is my baby, and so it covers a lot. And I have people now that are part of the Facebook, Joel Grimes Facebook Masterclass or Academy, and they are so excited, and they keep saying, we're going over and over the business. We're going over and over being an artist. We're learning more and more stuff, and we're living our dream now. So that is being made available to you guys. So you want to take it from here, Mike, a little bit and talk about...
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that when Joel wanted to start sharing all of this amazing techniques and everything he's done, one of the things that we wanted to do was make sure you had absolutely everything you need to both make a living, whether or not you're somebody who wants to make a living or as a photographer, or if you're just somebody who's passionate and wants to create something that is really special that you can share with your friends and family. That's why we put together the Joel Grimes Complete Pack the way we did. So I'm going to let Joel talk a little bit about each of these individual packs that's going to be contained within the entire complete pack.
Yeah, so I mentioned the artist and the business. And also, I have a series that I put together prior, so it's kind of a bundled deal that I did called Portrait Photography on Location. And you know that cowboy shot, Michael, that in fact is hanging over my fireplace? There's just a little bit of it, the close-up of it right there. That, you can see me go through the whole shoot out in the field with the horse, the cowboy, strobing, the whole thing, and then me going back into the studio, or I say my studio, but my office, and retouching the whole thing. So it's called, I call it, there's a term I always use, start to finish, but this was watching me go through the whole thing. And there's a whole bunch of iconic images that I created for that series, and people go, hey, how do you do that? I go, the whole thing is literally there at your fingertips. And so I have that. We have the retouch, as I mentioned. And so there was a time when I would go to Google and I'd type in Joel Grimes, and there were all these blogs trying to figure out how Joel Grimes was doing his retouch. And so, and I never had a secret. I started teaching it, and now it's, people know a lot about how I do that. But I cover every aspect of how I do my retouching, and it's fun. I love the finishing part of a photograph. In fact, I always say that I'm an artist. I want to see it all the way through. And here's another really tip, is a lot of commercial advertising photographers on my level, they shoot and then they turn it over to a retoucher. I do all mine. And so one of the things that I get a phone call and they'll say, hey, we'd like to have you do this campaign. Who's your retoucher? And I say, it's me. And they go, wow, we love that. because they know they're getting a consistent look all the way through, and I'm not, turn over some because my retoucher, got married and went off to Hawaii or something.
Well, and that's really the beauty about this entire complete pack, because it's as if you had the opportunity to follow Joel through the composition process, through the direction process, through the retouching, and get every single piece of the puzzle. And not only can you watch it once or twice, it's yours forever. So you're going to have the ability to strategically understand not only the techniques, but how to develop your own portfolio, how to reinvent yourself as the artist you want to be. It's extraordinary. Everything is included in this complete pack.
Yeah, and not only is it online, but it's also downloadable. So you can put it on your phone or iPad, whatever. You're on an airplane, you're sitting on an airplane for 8 hours going to, whatever, you can watch it and listen to it there. So it's downloadable, and that's something we really wanted to do. So I have, we're going to give you guys today the behind the lens, but I have the craft. I talked about that, the print. So I love to see my work on the wall. In fact, I've got some big prints right in front of me right here. I love making prints, and we kind of lost that art a little bit. So I talk a lot about, not a lot, but I do cover the print side of things. And being a Canon Explorer Light, I have access to a lot of really cool stuff there, which is fun. So then I have this series called Start to Finish, and I mentioned that briefly, but we have about, I think it's 12 start to finishes. I keep adding more and more, and I specifically go out and I do a photo shoot with nothing specific. Like, I'm not going to teach you how to use a beauty dish. I go out and I just shoot, and I apply all this stuff, and then I have this final image, and then you watch me all the way through. So when I go and teach lighting, a lot of times I'll say, well, here's cross light, here's overhead light, here's, whatever. But in this start to finish, you just watch me work. And it's really fun because sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do until it happens, and then I get this really cool picture. So the start to finish is a really fun series. And I just added some new stuff there too. So there's a whole bunch of Nefertiti's. That image, I think on Facebook, got more likes than any image so far to date. And you can see me do that whole shoot from the very beginning all the way through.
It's amazing.
So there's some more of those. I go out in the desert and I show how to create a Ansel Adams type black sky, beautiful. I actually strobe the cactus and create this really crazy look. And so I don't think there's anyone on the planet out there strobing cactus. I don't know. I've been doing it for 10 years. And I did a Subaru car. We did textures. I get people come up to me at Photoshop World and say, I love that little textured still life thing you did with flowers. I'm a manly guy. I want to, do tough stuff, but I love photographing flowers too. So I have a whole tutorial on that. So look at these. I got tons of. Here's Karan Clemens, the gold medalist in the 400 meters. You watch me do a beautiful portrait of him, and it's kind of fun. So Steve Slate is another guy that has come to a lot of my events or workshops and whatever, and he's rocking it too. So steveslate.com, go look at his work and say, hey, you know what? He was a school teacher. I met him. He was still teaching school, and he came to me and said, Joel, is it possible for me to make a living as a photographer? And I said, absolutely, Steve. And this was about maybe 7 years ago. And now he's going all over the country photographing. He's doing an incredible series of portraits of high-profile people, men and women of authors and whatever. And he is rocking it. So go to steveslate.com and look at his stuff. And, you can kind of see someone that's kind of followed what I do. So we talked about putting in a few minutes every day to reach your goal. Malcolm Gladwell, the author, and he wrote The Outliers. And I also read David and Goliath. But he talks about the marketplace. Why do some people succeed and why do some people not succeed? And he talks about the 10,000 hours. Ansel Adams said that you can master and be a master of anything in 10 years. If you want to be a concert pianist, you put 10 years into your master. And so we have more tools today that actually accelerate some of this stuff. I had to learn some of this stuff by fumbling. And when I say fumbling, and I remember in the early days, I didn't do 50 self-assignments a year. I should have. I didn't understand that concept. But today, we have the ability to get to our end result a lot quicker because we have all the tools in front of us. And remember, it doesn't take long to overcome 95% of your competition and get in that 5% category. If you don't stop, you keep moving forward, learn how to make cold calls, learn the power of 8, all these things, reinvent yourself, all these things, and you can go and be whatever you want to be in life. So, all right.
All right, so yeah, let me share this real quick. So the entire complete pack that we've put together is all of the different products that you saw today, all of the start to finishes. You're going to get all of the artists. You're going to get understanding the business. You're going to get everything you need to reinvent yourself right now to create the type of art that you want to create, utilizing Joel Grimes' 40 years of experience, following him from place to place, understanding each individual technique. So not only are you going to get the inspiration, not only are you going to get the business, not only are you going to get how to create the right portfolio for you, you're also going to get every single technique that Joel uses. And this retails for $2,282. And not only that, but you're going to get the Joel Grimes Facebook Academy. Here's one of the biggest challenges people get. They build a little momentum and they quit. And Joel has talked about this over and over and over again, how critical it is that if you want to surpass your competition, if you want to be that 5% of the 100 who actually gets to where you want to go, you've got to be consistent. And so what we did was we created not only all of the training, but we wanted the ability for you to lift yourself up with other photographers who are taking the same training. You'll have the ability to communicate with people who in the Joel Grimes Facebook Academy. So anybody who, we're actually going to make this offer in just a few minutes. It's only going to be available for about 15 minutes, but you're going to get that bonus. You're going to get into the Joel Grimes Academy along with all of the other training tutorials today. So this is going to make it faster and easier for you to get the answers you need when you need them, right?
That group is really growing, and I am, as much as I can, I participate. I look at comments. I'm not, we a lot of times my wife and I will be driving down the road, and she'll just be asking me all these questions, and we just keep trying to answer and be a part of this whole thing. We do a Facebook Live where I go for an hour. We try to do it maybe at least once, sometimes twice a month. So where I'm actually going through and I take your questions and then I go and answer them. And so we're going to continue to add to that. We're going to try to do some more critiquing and stuff like that too.
Exactly. So in addition to all the training you're going to get the ability to be in this Facebook group. And so, the idea is that a rising tide lifts all boats, right? It's a community. We're building a community of people who are trying to ascend. And it's a very elite community. These folks are passionate and they're serious. And so not only are you going to get that, you're going to get, you're going to get the Facebook Academy worth $497. And again, you're going to get lifetime membership of this thing. You're never going to get kicked out. You're also going to get a monthly Q&A with Joel, as he was just describing. So not only are you going to get the community, right, you're going to get the mentorship. And I think this is what a lot of people lack in their photography. They lack great coaching, they lack great mentorship, and they lack a community. So between all of the training that you're going to get, the community, and the mentorship directly with Joel Grimes, you're going to be able to take your art or your business to the next level. The value of the Q&A is $19.97. So you're going to get the Joel Grimes Complete Pack worth $2,282. You're going to get the Facebook Academy worth $497. You're going to get the monthly Q&A worth $19.97. Total value $4,776. But in addition, not only that, a lot of folks struggle when it comes to composition. They struggle when it comes to the clear techniques and the strategies that they need. They also struggle with having the right products in Photoshop that can help them. So what Joel did is he went back and created these texture packs. So you're going to get these brushes. So you're going to get the clouds and sky brushes. You're going to get rain and splashes. You're going to get snow and lightning. You're also going to get all of the texture packs. You're going to get an abstract pack. You're going to get a couple grunge packs. You're going to get a metals pack. All of these things that Joel uses consistently to create complex Photoshop images, it's all going to be included. So you're going to get, in addition to the Photoshop brushes, the Facebook Academy, all the training, the monthly Q&A, you're going to get the texture packs as well, a total value of $5,202 because we wanted to make this a no-brainer and special for you today, just because you're on this webinar. That is the retail price. We're going to give you a special discount today. If you take action within the next 15 minutes, you're going to get all of this, every single bit of it, the $5,202 value for only $299 today. So if you go to joelgrimes.com/CP, you can get this offer. If you're right here with us in Zoom, all you have to do is click on the Buy Now button. You're going to see it says Ultimate Photography Training on the right side of your screen. Click the Buy Now button. Go claim this. The entire offer ends tonight, but we're only offering the bonuses, the texture packs, as well as the brushes for the next 15 minutes. So if you are somebody who's passionate about taking your art, taking your vision, taking your business to the next level, creating that portfolio, creating that significant portfolio that's going to separate you in the marketplace, all you have to do, click the Buy Now button, go to joelgrimes.com. I'm going to turn on the chat window here in just a second so you can ask any questions.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. So if you have any questions about the product, if you have any questions specifically you want to ask Joel, this is going to be like kind of a little taste of that Q&A, that one-on-one that they're going to, anybody who gets this product is going to get this on a monthly basis. You're also going to get the academy. You're going to get all of the training. You're going to get all of the start to finish. You're going to get all of the brushes, all of the packs. Mike just said, got it. Why do I have to be broke in college? I'm sorry, Matt. I know that's tough. Is it a digital download? So yes, so you can get this as, when you purchase this, you're going to have the ability to get this as a digital download, or you can stream it directly. So again, this is a 94% savings if you get it today. If you get it in the next 15 minutes, you're going to get all of those bonuses, the texture packs as well. If you have any, all right, so Leslie says, can you explain the Power of 8 one more time? I missed it. Would you mind just going over that real quick?
Okay, so as I exert myself in the marketplace, generally as a human being, I don't push myself more than 2 rejections. I mean, I get pushed off. Someone says, I'm busy, blah, blah, blah. I get pushed off and I end up quitting. And that person does not end up remembering my name. So with the Power of 8, it's all it is eventually I'm getting my name into their brain. And what I did not talk about, which I do extensively, and so I'm going to just add a little bit to this. There's only really 2 ways for you to get hired in the marketplace. One is you are the most amazing photographer on the planet, and everybody's talking about you, and your name's out there, and some art director goes, oh, I got to try, Billy Bob Jones, because I hear this buzz about Billy Bob Jones. The odds are, though, you're not that person. I was never that person, right? So the only other way you're going to get in the door, folks, is when the person that makes a decision to hire you is in a crisis. I'm going to repeat that one more time. The only way you're going to get hired is if you're the most amazing person on the planet, or if that art director, art buyer, photo editor is in a crisis, they got to fill a slot, their typical 5 photographers are not available, or whatever it is, and they have to fill a slot, they're pressured to fill a slot, and your name pops into their brain because you did the Power of 8. If you don't do the Power of 8, your name doesn't get popped in the brain. And so this is what advertising is all about. So I built my career on this. I worked some of the biggest ad agencies in the world, some huge ad campaigns, because the art director, the person that was putting together everything, has a boss. They have deadlines, they have budgets, and they have to fill a slot. And they're like, oh, we got to get someone in here. And they go, okay, Joel Grimes, because my name got into their brain. So that's the Power of 8. And then sometimes it may take 10, 15 times. The point is I keep pounding my name into the brain of the person that hires, and eventually I get work. And I tell some really amazing stories on how I ended up literally taking Denver by storm, because I understood the Power of 8 when I first started out, and eventually I was rocking it. And anybody that is in about 3 months of you knocking on doors, you can start rocking it. It takes you about 3 months of getting your names together, get your promos. I go through this whole technique on how to do this. It's really fun, make marketing fun, and then all of a sudden now you're making a living as a photographer.
Beautiful. And I just want to answer a couple questions. Some folks ask, you're selling this at the end. Is this an advertisement? No. This entire presentation was about giving you the creative tools that we could in an hour, right? So the entire complete pack is built on 40 hours of first beginning to end composition. It's going to give you every single thing you need to create either a business or an extraordinary hobby photography skill set. So we've created this, and we can only deliver so much in an hour. And Joel, we've had a ton of people who appreciate what you delivered in an hour. But for those of you who want to take it to the next level, we have made this so accessible to so many people. And yes, this is a real $5,000 value. People pay Joel thousands of dollars to coach with him and mentor with him. So this is not, we're not just devaluing an amazing product. This is accessible. We wanted to create something so accessible and so powerful for you to change the way you do business or you do your photography so that you can create that unique, passionate portfolio that you want to create to take your art and your business to the next level. Joel, Elra wants to know about how this could help a landscape photographer.
Well, okay, so if you're a landscape photographer, which I started out as a landscape photographer, and I got to where I fell in love with doing portraits. I still love doing landscapes. In fact, I'm trying to do a trip this week to Joshua Tree. I want to get out and just kind of clear my mind and sleep under the stars and whatever. I love doing landscape photography. There are some landscape photographers, like I said, a very small percent, that are rocking it. They're selling fine art prints. They're out there doing books and calendars and all this stuff. How did they get there? They learned how to market. That's the whole point. You can't just be an amazing photographer. You have to learn how to market. Ansel Adams was a marketer. All these great photographers had this marketing side to them of getting their name out into the marketplace. And so you have to learn that. If you don't learn it, no one's going to know who you are. And you're going to be in that 95% category of people that don't know who you are. So learn how to market. Then you go and take your work, you sell fine art prints. I have prints hanging in corporations and big offices out here in Phoenix because I know how to market. I get my name out there and people hear about me. These are landscape stuff, by the way. And they're now hanging in the CEO's office of XYZ Corporation because I got my name out there. That's how it works.
Nanad said, nice stuff. Love your frequency separation technique I recently watched. Charlene says, I want to get into still life photography, but don't know where to start.
Well, open up a magazine. Look at the ads. There's like, in a lot of the men's type journals, men's magazines, they have tons of watch ads. Just open up watches. Women's magazines, perfume, or whatever. There's always stuff that you can look at and say, all right, I'm drawn to this kind of photography. How do I learn that? Well, you go out and you buy a cheap watch and you bring it into your studio and you photograph it. You try something new, you fail, you redo it, you learn another technique. And by the way, my platography concept works incredible with still life. In fact, one of my assistants I've had for a long time, he does jewelry. And when I explained to him my platography concept, he's like, what? I can apply that to my jewelry. And now that's what he's doing it. So yes, figure out what you like more than anything on the planet, find out really good photography, and then go and say, all right, it's not rocket science, folks. You can learn how to shoot watches in about, I don't know. I'm not going to, it depends on where you're starting right now, but if you know basics of photography, it doesn't take that long to learn how to photograph watches. Look at the best watch ads in the world and emulate those, and then go from there and build your own style.
Just had a question about an installment payment plan. So we don't have an installment payment plan, but what you can do, we do accept PayPal. And then so I just put a link in here, which would actually allow you to go directly to PayPal. And if you want to get, I think it's like $999 or excuse me, it's like $200 or more, something like that. You can get interest-free financing through PayPal. I believe it's US only, but you can get interest-free financing through PayPal where you can actually go ahead and purchase the full amount, and then you can pay it back over 6 months, like $50 a month or something like that. To get this amount of value and this much education in such a short period is incredibly powerful. So let's see if we got some more questions. Yeah, go ahead.
What do you spend a day at Starbucks?
$4 or $5.
Well, there's your, I mean, like I say, I mean, I don't drink coffee. I'm a tea guy, but the fact is we spend money every day and we don't blink an eye.
Right.
And stuff probably we don't need. And so if you go and purchase something that can launch your career, I think is a little more valuable.
Yeah, so if you actually broke it down, it would be over a 6-month period. This would be $1.66 per day. To get all of this. Again, you're going to get the Facebook Academy, so you're going to get the community. You're going to get the live Q&A, so you're going to get the mentorship. You're going to get all of the training products. You're going to get all of the textures. You're going to get everything here today for just $2.99. Again, all you got to do is click the offer button on the side to get started immediately, and you're going to have access to this immediately. Don says, Joel, saw you at Portrait Masters. I love your work. So excited about this package. Congratulations, Don.
Very good.
Robin says, my photography business is unique. I combine portrait and event photography. What do you suggest I could do to get my photography noticed?
Well, I mean, you got to find out. Here's what I say. Let's just say, for example, I am in Phoenix, and I'm sure your town is similar, but within, say, 50 to 75 miles of where I sit right now, there's probably 100 hospital medical facilities that have a marketing department that use photographers. I get the list of those names. I start marketing those people. And within a short amount of time, I'm working for those hospitals. That's how it works. So you got to find where it is that you want to work, get the names of the person that hire photographers, and then you start marketing. I go through this, I mean, hours of this whole step-by-step process in the Academy.
Absolutely. All right, so Stephen wants to know, I'm on the site, I've just made the purchase. Can you tell me how I can download the individual sets instead of streaming, please?
Yeah.
All you have to do, do you know that offhand?
You just go up to help, click on help, and it says how to download the individual tutorials onto your laptop or whatever it is, onto your device.
Jeff wants to know, hi Joel, how do you find the email addresses of art buyers, art directors? Do you buy email lists?
No. You can do that. I don't recommend it because that list means that there's a whole bunch of people buying that list. So, and then the art directors move around a lot. So there's a lot of different ways. I go through this, but basically what you're doing is there are current sources like the Denver Journal Book of Lists, the Phoenix Journal Book of Lists, the Los Angeles Journal Book of Lists. That was a list I used for many years. I think you can get that online. I used to pay like $33 a quarter or something to get that publication, or I'd go down to the library and I would just copy it, and with about $1.50 in copies, and have that basic breakdown. Those lists will tell you top 50 hospitals in Phoenix, top 30 ad agencies in Phoenix, top 100 real estate developers in Phoenix, top whatever it is that you're going after. There's a book of lists that you can start with that at least give you the ability to make a phone call to find out the current name of the person that is hiring photography. That's how I do it. If you buy a list, the odds are the name on that list does not exist anymore. It's not up to date. They don't up to date those lists very good.
Again, folks, if you are somebody who's struggling a little bit with getting the payment today for $2.99, I have put in the link under Michael Mataluni, the link to PayPal. It is for U.S. folks only, but you can get zero interest financing to get this today. Again, it's $50 a month over the next 6 months. Zero financing. That's $1.66 a day to take your photography to the next level. Again, you're going to get everything in the pack. You're going to get the entire complete pack, the Facebook Academy. You're going to get the Q&A with Joel. You're going to get all the textures, all the brushes. Everything is there for you, and you can act immediately. You can get started right now. And again, Joel was talking about 10 minutes a day. Taking that, $1.66 a day and taking 10 minutes, utilizing this program is going to make a huge impact on your art and business immediately. Rob wants to know, Photographers Market Annual on Amazon has contacts, what they're looking for, how to contact them, etc. Are you familiar with that? I don't know.
No, I'm not, but I'll tell you, there's probably some really good lists out there today. If you type in top ad agencies in Phoenix, there's a list. Top 5 ad agencies in Kansas City, there's a list somewhere. There's a list. All you need is get a list somewhere, but you're going to have to do your due diligence of picking up the phone and finding out who the current person is that hires photographers. That may take you, the receptionist may send you over to the market department. The market department may send you over to the back, whatever. Eventually, you'll find out Betty Smith is the one that hires photographers. Once you get her name, I always go, ching, ching, I see dollar signs, because I know I'm going to do my power of 8. I know that if she needs a photographer and she's in a crisis, I am the photographer that will be called. Guaranteed.
Beautiful. And again, sorry, go ahead, Joel.
I said I built my whole career on this.
Yeah, and if you guys just heard that, make sure you write that down, because that's critical knowledge. I mean, if you're not asking your best questions right now, you've got Joel's ear. He's going to share. Once you get this product, you're going to get Joel's ear every month to ask these questions. But right now, you have a chance to really get the answers to these questions. And if you're not paying attention or not writing down or overwhelmed by the price of the complete pack, you're missing out. This is for real. This is Joel Grimes' actual photography tips. Please make sure you take it seriously and you write these things down and use them. Take action on them. If you walk away from this and all you took is the free stuff, and again, for those of you who came in, you're going to get those free bonuses emailed to you in the next 24 hours just for sticking around here. But if you're not taking this seriously, you're missing the boat. All right, so I'm sorry I don't see the link for PayPal option. I'm going to put the link in one more time for the PayPal option. For those of you, we're going to be wrapping up here in just a few minutes. Let's see if we've got any more questions for you, Joel. How do you price your service products when you're doing portraits in an area that doesn't have a lot of money?
Well, okay, so yes. Look, we all have to start somewhere, right? Well, I always say this, that when it comes to weddings, for example, there's somebody that will only pay $100 for a wedding, right? Now, I don't know any photographer that can make a profit off a $100 wedding, but there are some people that will only pay some people pay $0, but let's just say $100. Then there's people that will pay $1,000 for a wedding, and there's people that pay $10,000 for a wedding, and there's people that pay $100,000 for a wedding. There's a slot to be filled all along the price spectrum, right? So as a photographer, where do you start out? Do you start out doing $100,000 weddings? No. You start at the bottom of the barrel and you start working your way up. You start getting some good images to promote yourself. And then you have to, at some point, make a profit. I go through this whole thing. You have to make a profit, and at the end of the shoot, you have to have a smile on your face. If you don't have a smile on your face, you didn't charge enough money. So you're not in it for charity. Well, maybe you are. I hope you're not. I hope you're in it to make a living. So people ask me, how do you define success? And I say, I have provided for a family of 6, me and my wife and 4 kids, and I did it through photography. Isn't that amazing? I actually made a living with photography and provided for a family. Now, it doesn't matter how big of a house you have and how many cars you have and whatever. It's just I made a basic living and more, but I made a living with photography. That's what I want you to do. So you can't do it for free, so you got to find a way to make a profit.
Christina says, thank you so much for this unique offer. My business partner and I are trying to find ourselves in our photography style. Your words will keep us going. Thanks. Ernie says, when you click on the Buy Now button, PayPal option is there. That's exactly right. Nanad says, when you think about this power of 8 thing applies across creative industries. Actually, I'm a freelancer motion graphics designer, but still love photography and filming. Thanks for the tips. And again, guys, we've packed as much free content as we could here for you. I know that $2.99 can be a stretch for some of you, but we've tried to build it so that it's everything that you're going to need, and it's way underpriced for the value that you're getting. This is years of Joel Grimes' life's work, and if we could get more into this, hour and 17-minute period, we would. But your chance of moving yourself forward is right now. All you got to do is click the button to your right, click Buy Now, and get started today. Get in the Facebook Academy. Get in the live Q&As. This is what's going to sustain you and move you forward through this process. You need that accountability. You need that commitment. It makes a huge difference in your ability to get where you're wanting to go as a photographer. If you guys have any other questions, we're going to be wrapping this up in just a few seconds. But Robin just said, while I'm not purchasing Joel's package, I have learned a lot from this information he has shared. And that's what we want. If you're not able to buy today, if it's not right for you, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. We wanted to deliver as much value as possible to those. And for those of you who wanted to take it to the next level, this is the pack for you. Jeff says, thanks, guys. Really enjoyed the presentation. Rob says, as a photographer and artist, biz skills may not be the strongest. How do photographers and artists find business managers, marketers, gallerists, or agents to ensure biz considerations are handled? Ooh, great question.
Well, I get a lot of questions like, should I have a rep? The photographer's rep. And I always say, well, they take 25%, at least 25%. But how are you going to get a rep? Do you think any rep's just going to pick you up if you don't have your act together, if you're not out there hustling every day? So, or like I said, how do they know you exist? So you got to market the reps to get a rep. So you better, I always say, why market a rep when you can go apply those same skills and get a job and take all the profits? But I've had reps in the past. The point is you're human, I'm human, and you're trying to take a shortcut to your goal. And there are shortcuts, but at some point you have to put in your due diligence to get to where you want to go. And I am here to help you get to where you want to go. That's my goal. And I ask you a question. How many educators out there have put 40 years and have worked in the industry and have done, the coffee table books, have done the things I've done? There's a lot of educators out there that have never worked a day in the real marketplace. They've just gone straight from learning, their skill set to teaching. And so I feel confident that I have the insight to teaching you how to put a bid in, how to all these things, and usage rights and terminologies. That's all on this academy. And so I've poured it all into it. So I feel confident that you get what you need.
Jonathan Buckmer just asked, there's a Creative Live link with a bundle for you. He wanted to know if that's the link, and the answer is no, that is not the link. That's a different bundle. It's not the complete pack. So if you want to get the complete pack today at this price with all the bonuses, all the bundles, work directly with Joel, have the community, you need to either click the buy button here or go to joelgrimes.com/C as in cat, P as in person, C as in cat, P as in person. That's joelgrimes.com/CP. Laura says, saw you at After Dark years ago, learned a lot then, looking forward to learning more via your complete pack. That's exciting, Laura. Congratulations.
Good.
All right. Any other questions that we can answer for you guys? Bart says, I shoot sport, gym, fitness, fashion, and boudoir. Should I focus on one or build my business on all of them? Great question.
Well, I'll give you a little insight. Follow the money trail. So I'll give you just a quick thing. We'll end with this. I love MMA. Sorry if you don't like MMA fighting. I like to watch combat sports. And so if I wanted to make a living shooting MMA fighters, I could go to the MMA fighters. They don't have any money, most of them, unless they're at the big top of the rung, right? But so you're not gonna say, oh, I'm gonna make a living shooting MMA fighters. Like you said, you can, but that's not where the money trail is. If you go to UFC, which is the big I guess organization, UFC. You can make a living there. You could probably go in there and get some good work with the UFC for their posters and things that they're doing. Still not where the money's at. The money is in the products that are advertised in the UFC or the MMA fighting arena or industry. Supplements. Whatever it is, it's just like a surfer. You don't make money off the surfers. You make money off the companies that build surfboards and wetsuits. So follow the money trail and say, where are the big bucks in this industry? Now, it's not all about money. And at the beginning, you have to photograph, I might say for a year, photograph MMA fighters and do trade outs and do just self-assignments. But at some point, I'm going to say, I got to make a living, and I want to get the best money for my, or I guess the return for my investment. And it's where the advertisers are in the industry that you love. Make sense?
I hope you guys are writing this down. This stuff is priceless. Alan just says, I'm an established commercial photographer. Wish I had this years ago. It would have amplified my trajectory. Charles wants to know where are the link to the free packs, please. So Charles, every single person who is here today is going to receive an email within the next 24 hours that's going to send you the links to the free bonuses. So don't worry, they'll be on the way. If anybody has any problems with trying to purchase, they're having problems trying to purchase, or if you need any support whatsoever, all you have to do is email support@joelgrimes.com. Again, that link is support@joelgrimes.com. Steven says, I'm going to be pretty busy here in Scotland with all these videos. Can't wait to take my art to the next level. Boss says, thanks, going out for 10 minutes of photography. Sharon wants to know, can you buy actual physical copies rather than downloaded material? So again, you don't have to download the material. You can stream it live, so you don't have to put the information on your computer. So you can stream it live, or you can download. We don't have physical DVDs that we'll be sending out, but again, we've created it so that you can either A, stream it directly, or B, download it if you're not going to be near a connection.
Yes.
Last question for today. Alora says, sorry for the repost, but is it possible for an underage person to start a photography business? Asking for a friend. They want to start on their own.
Well, it's never too late or it's never too early, right? I had a friend in high school who was photographing drag racing out in Tucson, way out there. And he, back in the film days, this is back in 1970, probably 73. He was 14 years old with a camera creating income. And so when he showed up in class, he had all the best cameras in the world because he was making all this money at 14, 15 years old. So it's never too early or it's never too late.
Wonderful. Thanks for the inspiration, Joel. On the start to finish videos, do you cover in-depth the light and camera settings you prefer and why?
Well, I go through as much detail as possible on what I'm doing, right? So I would say, yes, I'm covering I'm telling you what all the settings are, especially in the retouch side. I go through step by step every single thing I do. So I try to, when I say I teach to about an 8th grade level or whatever, maybe a 2nd grade level, I don't know. I go through and break it down very, very simple.
Beautiful. And again, guys, remember, utilizing this specific training by Joel, not only are you going to get everything from beginning to end, but he's going to break it down in simple language, right? So that's the key here. Simple language that anyone can understand so you can create the art that you want to create using the techniques Joel's going to share with you. Again, you're going to get the Facebook Academy, you're going to get the Q&A with Joel, you're going to get everything you need to get started right now. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today, and we can't wait to see you in the Academy.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.